All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for day number 10 of Donald Trump's hush money trial. And we are about to go back into the courtroom and see what's going on, where our guy, Inner City Press, is sitting in there watching and listening to everything that is happening. And he is writing it down for us. And I'm going to read it for you. But before we get into that, guys, I wanted to show you this. This was Donald Trump, who was in Wisconsin yesterday, which is Wednesday, the day off from trial. And watch this entrance before he began his rally, guys, because it was probably one of the most epic entrances I've ever seen. Look at him. He's standing behind the American flag, and all you see is the shadow of Donald Trump. But let's hear the entrance before he came out on stage, guys. This is probably the most epic entrance I've ever seen. I can only play just a little snippet of this because the rest of it is a copyrighted song. So let's hear it. All right, so that's what we have introducing Donald J. Trump, and he is standing behind the flag. There's a shadow, and then he walks out on stage. I mean, guys, come on. This is absolutely epic. I love this. He needs to do this more often. It's almost as epic as him flying in on his Trump plane, landing and walking out of the plane. I think it's really good. But also we have Donald Trump coming out before going into trial today. And of course, I mean, this guy, he has so much energy. It really blows my mind. He's 77 years old, and he's got a day off in the middle of the week on Wednesday, and he flies out to Wisconsin. He goes to Michigan. He has two rallies in the same day. And then the next day he's coming back. He's in New York. He's going to sit through another, 7 hours of a scam trial. And then he's probably going to come out after the trial and challenge Joe Biden to a debate. So this guy, Joe Biden, really can't hold a candle to him. And this is why you see all of these forces going against Trump, because he really embodies, in my opinion, the American spirit. He's a fighter, and no matter what comes against him, he refuses to stand down, and I think that's very admirable. But let's hear a little bit of what Donald Trump had to say before walking into the trial today.
We're down at the trial now, getting ready to spend another day in the courthouse, which is a bogus trial that every leading authority on law says should never have been brought, that Alvin Bragg didn't want to bring it until the election happened, and then he brought it. You just do know that this case could have been brought 8 years ago. Could have been brought 8 years ago. Instead, they wait and wait and wait. They know it's not a good case, and now it's turned out to be they've lost they have no case. They have no case. But we have a very conflicted judge, unfortunately, and so you never know. But other than that, there's no case, and it should have never been brought.
Yes, and of course, Donald Trump is correct. This is a bogus trial. This is something that Alvin Bragg didn't want to bring. And then you have this lawyer from the Biden DOJ and the Obama DOJ, he worked for both of them, come in, and he's running this whole show. He ran the show with Letitia James in the fraud trial against the Trump organization. Now he's running the show in this hush money trial. But guys, enough of that. Let's go back into the courtroom. First, we have a contempt hearing because the prosecution is trying to hold Donald Trump in contempt of court again. And then after that, we have Keith Davidson on the stand. Now, Keith Davidson is an attorney who represented Stormy Daniels, who was seeking payment in 2016 for her silence about alleged sexual encounters with Donald Trump. And Stormy Daniels, whose real name is Stephanie Clifford, was paid $130,000 by Michael Cohen, Trump's former lawyer. And that's what we're going to be hearing today from Keith Davidson, who will be continuing to testify about his arrangement with Michael Cohen. Notice it's his arrangement with Michael Cohen, not Donald Trump. And that's another thing, Trump is talking about. Like this, a lot of this testimony is just irrelevant. What are they getting to? It keeps dragging on and on and on, and the judge is just letting them talk as much as they want. But when it comes to the defense making counter arguments or trying to make their case against Donald Trump's gag order and these contempt charges and all that, the judge gets very impatient. You'll see that here in a second. But guys, let's go back into the courtroom and let's see what's going on. We're on day number 10 of Donald Trump's hush money trial. And Inner City Press, he is writing. Keith Davidson still is on direct examination. But first, we're going to talk about contempt. And we have Trump arriving in the courtroom. I wonder what he's wearing. I'm assuming he's probably wearing what he wore in the video. So he's looking sharp. He's feeling good. He just came back from 2 rallies, one in Wisconsin and one in Michigan. So he's feeling pumped. He's feeling that energy. The fight is renewed in him. But he whispers to Todd Blanche, who's going to be arguing for the defense, for against these contempt charges. So Todd Blanche is to his right in the lead counsel seat, and we have the court clerk comes in. All rise. The clerk says, "This is the people of the state of New York against Donald J. Trump." Then we have Judge Merchant. He comes in. All right, guys. We'll have our hearing on contempt. The defense provided close to 500 pages in total. People, why don't you go through each one of the violations and explain? Then we have the prosecutor. Well, the defendant is claiming that the order was not intended to allow others to attack him without him being able to respond. But he's already been found to have violated the order 9 times, and he's done it again. Oh, no. We must take away his freedom of speech because he's dangerous. On April 25th, reporters were questioning him, and I think it was all part of the plan. They asked about David Pecker. The defendant said, "He's a nice guy." Gasps. Gasp in the courtroom. This is a classic carrot and stick maneuver. He selectively responded to this question and not others. In an interview to a Pennsylvania TV station on April 23, he said, "Michael Cohen is a convicted liar, and he has no credibility. He got in trouble. He did some bad things with banking. This is willful and knowing, Judge." And then, on April the 22nd, outside the door to this courtroom in the little pen that was set up, he stood there for 9 minutes and spoke about a witness that will be here at some date in the future, Michael Cohen. He said Cohen wasn't very good. He got caught lying. Well, he did. Cohen, he's a convicted perjurer. But let's continue. We understand the court's concerned about Michael Cohen. They filed 500 pages, TikToks, but there's nothing to indicate defendants saw these when they were made. Michael Cohen is not a political opponent. There is an order, and these are violations. Mr. Blanche right here said that his client understands the gag order. So we have met our burden. We are asking for the maximum $1,000 payments per contempt charge. We are not yet seeking jail to avoid disruption to this proceeding. Oh, how kind of them. But Judge Merchant says, "All right, Mr. Blanche, what do you have to say to these contempt charges?" And now we have Todd Blanche. He says, "Judge, on Tuesday, the court said to us that the purpose of the gag order is to shield those fearful of reprisal from the defendant. There's a reason to deny these 4. You said your order is not intended to allow unfettered attacks on him. Since President Trump announced in 2022, almost 2 years ago, there have been attacks by Michael Cohen and the people he has had on his podcast." Now Merchant goes, "Well, my main concern is with conduct after the gag order was issued." Now we have Blanche. "Okay, I will focus on recent remarks. Last week, President Trump's rival, President Biden, said in a public forum, he talked about a witness in this trial. He said, you might call it stormy weather. President Trump can't respond due to this gag." And I believe that was at the White House Correspondents' Dinner where President Biden made this, this remark about the trial. Now we got Justice Merchant. He says, well, he can respond to President Biden. He just can't speak about a witness in this trial. Now Blanche goes, but President Biden can. These exhibits are mostly tweets or retweets by Michael Cohen. Recents and podcasts also recent. Yeah, he's like, well, President Biden, he can say whatever he wants about Donald Trump. He can say whatever he wants about the trial, but Donald Trump is the one on trial, and he's also running for president, but he can't talk unless, Joe Biden says something, then he can respond? So it's absolutely insane here. But Blanche continues, there may be a need to remove some people from the gag order if they don't need protecting. On Pecker, President Trump said on April 23rd for a news show in Philadelphia answering on Pecker. President Trump was factual and neutral. There was no warning. And President Trump has also known Pecker for decades, and Merchant interrupts. Well, it's not just about Mr. Pecker. It's the message to other witnesses. I have expressed my concerns about Mr. Cohen, but it's also about the other witnesses. That's a concern. Now we have Blanche. Well, every word that's being said here is being reported in real time. President Trump has to respond. What's happening in this trial? Merchant interrupts again. He says, it's not surprising we have press here. The defendant is the former president. And the defendant is the leading Republican candidate now. I don't have the authority over the press. I can't extend the gag order to them. Let me ask you, when your client went to that holding area, he went to them, not the press to him. Now, Blanche, well, yes, Judge, I agree, but President Trump has to be able to speak. He's literally running for president of the United States. Now we have Merchan. Well, that is why the area is set up. He can speak about the DA of New York County, and that's all. Now, Blanche. Well, on Pecker, what President Trump said was that he was nice. That's all. Now, Merchan. Well, I'm not terribly concerned about that one. Now, Blanche. Well, Mr. Cohen has been inviting, almost daring President Trump to respond to him. Let's put some on the screen. And then we have Merchan, and watch this, guys. I kid you not. He allows the prosecution to, have as much time as they want. But now Merchan says, hurry. You need to hurry up, okay? But then on the screen, we have a photo or photos of Donald Trump in orange. So I'm assuming an orange jumpsuit was shown. And this is what Michael Cohen is doing. He is showing pictures of Donald Trump in an orange jumpsuit. Now we have Todd Blanche, and he says, well, here, Mr. Cohen says he won't send money to President Trump's commissary account in jail. Then something obnoxious. And then he has a photos of Barry Diller, Squawk Box, Midas. And Todd Blanche says, Mr. Cohen has been shopping a TV show. Merchan says, well, you've made your point. And Todd Blanche now says, Cohen has interviewed reporters in this room who blast President Trump for what he did while he was president in excess of 10. Way in excess of 10. Mr. Cohen goes on TikTok nightly, making money. Yeah, Michael Cohen goes on these TikTok lives almost every night, blasting Donald Trump, saying whatever he wants to say about him. But Donald Trump is not allowed to respond. This is why this is so ridiculous. And the fact that Merchan has a gag order on Donald Trump from talking about Michael Cohen just points to how big of a scam that this trial is. But Blanche continues, this is not a man who needs protection from the gag order. Now, Judge Merchan, well, what about the comments made about the jury? Blanche says, it was 15 seconds from a 20-minute interview. This trial matters to voters. We believe this is political. Merchan, he said the jury was rushed through. Does this violate the gag order? Now, Blanche, he says, well, he wasn't speaking about a particular juror. If they are Democrat, the press has done that. Now, Merchan, he's getting impatient again. He says, oh, all right, well, it's 10 minutes after 10. Let's wrap it up. Now, Blanche, he continues, well, Stormy Daniels does not need to be protected by this gag order. Merchan, he's had enough. He's all right, jury in 5 minutes. And now we have the jury entering, the prosecutor entering, and we are continuing to question Stormy Daniels' ex-attorney. We have Steinglass, and we have Keith Davidson up on the screen. And the prosecutor says, okay, Mr. Davidson, you were talking about your emails with and about Michael Cohen. Here's People's Exhibit 168. Please blow it up. What does it say? Now, Davidson says, it's an executed agreement changed to correct the LLC. Escrow upon receipt of agreement by Dylan. Now, the prosecutor says, well, what was this email about? Well, we'd had a phone call. I'd lost trust in Michael Cohen. Dylan then mediated. Well, why did you lose trust with Michael Cohen? Now, Davidson says, he was not telling me the truth. And the prosecutor says, okay. And Intercity Press here put okay in all caps with an exclamation mark. So maybe that's not something the prosecutor wanted to hear, because Michael Cohen, remember, is their star witness. And every one of these witnesses so far that I've talked about Cohen have talked about the fact that he was liar, pants on fire. But now we have the prosecutor, and he says, in this one, you produced under subpoena. What does it say? And Davidson said, List Essential Consultants, LLC. Yours, Michael Cohen. Well, did you respond? Yes, I responded at 7:02 a.m. I said, I will work in good faith. Well, did you receive the funds as a wire transfer from Essential Consultants? Yes. And this on liquidated damages. What does it mean? Well, I offered this provision. It was for $1 million per violation. I believe this provision would be unenforceable, but Michael Cohen demanded it. Now we have Steinglass. Okay, who is DD? And Davidson responds, Donald Trump. Is his name written here in the side of the letter? Now, Davidson, yes, that's my handwriting. It says attorney's eyes only. Well, who signed for David Dennison? Michael Cohen did. How much did you personally make from this deal? $10,000. How about Stormy Daniels? How much did she make? And Davidson says, I feel like that invades attorney-client privilege. Now, the prosecutor, when the article came out about Karen McDougal's agreement, how did Michael Cohen react? Well, he was angry about the timing just before the election. And this, on the election night, what did you write? Davidson responds, I wrote, what have we done? What does this mean? That we may have helped get Donald Trump elected. Well, what did Dylan Howard respond with? Dylan Howard responded, OMG. And that means, oh my God. Well, who won the election? Davidson, Donald Trump. So they are drawing these like the series of events that apparently led up to Donald Trump being elected and displaying it before the jury. I don't know, guys. It just seems kind of ridiculous and funny to me. And now Davidson continues. He says, well, later, Michael Cohen called me. I was in a strangely decorated department store. He said, Jesus Christ, can you effing believe I'm not going to D.C.? After everything I'd done for that effing guy, I saved his ass so many times, he didn't pay me $130,000. So Michael Cohen is very upset that he's not going to D.C. with President Trump. Now, the prosecutor, is this a receipt from the store you were in when you got the call from Michael Cohen? Yes, this was December the 9th, 2016. Well, I'm almost afraid to ask, but how was the department store decorated? Davidson responds, it was a big box. It was like Alice in Wonderland. So this department store was decorated like Alice in Wonderland. Now to early 2018. What's this? I had received a comment call from the Wall Street Journal about Stormy Daniels and Donald Trump. I reiterated our 2011 denial, our cease and desist letter to thedirty.com. It was January the 10th, 2018. I forwarded it to Cohen. Now the prosecutor, I'll show you People's Exhibit 255. What is it? It's an instant message between me and Michael Cohen. I wrote, Wall Street Journal called Stormy, deadline tonight. And Cohen responded, write a strong denial for her like you did before. Well, was what was issued true? Now Davidson says, technically. Well, how? The relationship was not romantic, but was it sexual? It was and or. Now the prosecution. So it was cleverly worded? And Davidson says, I don't understand the question. Davidson says, you call it hush money, but I call it consideration, a settlement in a civil matter. So this hush money word is like, it's like a trigger word. Everyone hears hush money, like, ooh, this is something nefarious going on. But these lawyers, they don't use that term. And even Davidson, Stormy's own lawyer, says, I don't call it hush money. I call it consideration. It's a civil matter. And the prosecutor says, well, you wouldn't call it hush money? Why? Davidson says, I would never use that word. I call it consideration. Cohen was texting me. Stormy was going to go on Hannity. Then he wrote back, no interviews. It was another one of his pants on fire moments. He asked someone or some wise men. They said no interviews. Well, what does this text say? In this text, Cohen asks, why is she going on Kimmel after the State of the Union? I replied, I don't know. It was difficult. She might have to repay the money and liquidated damages. Stormy said, this is my shot. She wanted to rejuvenate her career. So Stormy Daniels, she wants to restart her career by using Donald Trump, his stardom, and the fact that he became president, and uses dirt that she has on him to get in the limelight. And you see this happening right now where she has a documentary that has come out about her. And ironically, the judge has denied the subpoena by the defense to look into this documentary and the making of this documentary. Once again, it's a complete scam trial. But the prosecution continues, you don't have to read all of these, but what is it about? Davidson says, it's a news article that had been published. I was receiving hundreds of phone calls. Well, did you prepare another denial before Kimmel? Yes, I prepared another statement. Where were you when you typed this statement? I was in the Marilyn Monroe suite in the Roosevelt Hotel in Hollywood, California. There were people there, Gina Rodriguez and her then boyfriend, Anthony. Well, why there? Kimmel booked a suite for Stormy. The statement ended, please check out on Instagram. Well, how was it true, denying an alleged sexual relationship? Because it was not a relationship. That'd mean an ongoing interaction. What are these texts? Well, in these texts, Cohen was talking to Kimmel. He texted me, she is saying it's not her signature. He asked me, did you say she signed it in front of you? What did you reply? I replied, WTF is an expression of exasperation. And what next? Gina said she was mad at Stormy, that Stormy had her look like a liar. Gina said she's had a long talk with Stormy on the plane to New York. They were going to film something. Well, did Michael Cohen threaten a suit? Many times. He can be a very aggressive guy. He threatened to rain down legal hell on Stormy. He'd say, you don't know who you're effing with. What did he want you to do? He wanted me to deny. Whose contacts did Cohen send you? He sent me Christopher Cuomo. Who is he? He's in the broadcasting business. What did you write? That Cohen having paid was in conformity with what he told me. Well, did you check with Mr. Cohen, then send it to Christopher Cuomo? Yes, and I believe it was truthful. It was what Cohen had told me. He said, F it, I'll just do it myself. But did you believe that the ultimate source of funds was Mr. Trump? Davidson, at the time of the transaction, later in the department store conversation, he said he had not been reimbursed. Well, do you have a stake in this trial? No. No further questions. And now Justice Merchan says, all right, we will take a break. So we have no further questions from the prosecution. Now we're going to have the cross-examination of Keith Davidson coming up very soon, guys. Watch for that video. If you want a notification, click that follow button, click the bell, click notifications. I will have this coming out as soon as I can, as soon as they finish the cross-examination. But let me know what you think about this. What do you think of what Keith Davidson said? To me, it seems like he said a bunch of nothing. Everything points back, in my opinion, to Michael Cohen. The fact that Michael Cohen is a liar, and the fact that he's the only one that paid Stormy Daniels. And even if Donald Trump had paid Stormy Daniels, it's not illegal. But I don't see any of that in here. But let me know what you think. What are your thoughts down below in the comments? Like and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. But until then, I will see you on the next one.